What is the most effective way to communicate? You ever thought about that before? Let's talk about it. How's it going, everybody? My name is Marty, and I am the Education Director / Prison Educator here for My Choice Education. And today I want to talk to you about communication. One of the most important aspects in any relationship, romantic or otherwise, is how and what is the best way to communicate with other people. So communication is literally the foundation of almost everything that we do. Without communication, how would we connect with other people? It's a very important piece to this, I guess, holistic health puzzle that we talk about in regards to relationships across the board. And so today I want to specifically focus on a study that was done at the University of California, Los Angeles. If you look this study up, you will see a lot of controversy around it, but then you'll also see a lot of articles written to kind of clear up that controversy because it was very misunderstood. So what this study was about was there was a professor there that wanted to try to figure out what the most effective way to communicate is or was back then. And what's really, really interesting about that is they were specifically focusing on when communicating feelings or attitudes about something. So it's not just about any general communication. It's not just a lecture or, hey, I'm running to the store to pick up this. You know, it doesn't apply necessarily to those things per se. And so what I want to do is, first off, I just want to look at this today. I want to kind of break it down and talk about the results of it. But then I want to make some application because it may seem like, well, okay, that's fine when communicating feelings, but what about the rest of the communication? What about everything else we talk about? Can this even apply, and why is all of this important? So with that being said, he broke it down into three different percentages, so to speak. Out of 100% of effectiveness, so what is the most effective form of communication? First, they found out that 55% of communication when regarding feelings and attitudes is through body language alone. And so body language is the majority, 55%. That's the majority. That's a huge chunk. And that has nothing to do with what is being said or even how it's being said. It's just, what does the person's body language tell you? I mean, you can imagine for a second if, I was talking to you in this video, but the entire time I was, picking at my fingers or nodding off or checking my watch constantly. It doesn't really matter as much as what I'm telling you. It could be the exact same information and I could be telling you how important it is, but if my body language is suggesting that I'm not interested or I'm bored or I'm waiting for this to be over, you would pick up on that way more than what I'm actually saying, and you would tune me out because, well, he doesn't care, so why should I? So that's body language, and I think we're all pretty good at picking up on people's body language, more so than you think. You pick up on people's body language a lot, okay? And so that's 55%. But then there's a 38% chunk of effective communication when regards to feelings and attitudes that is strictly vocal tone, pitch, and emphasis. So again, it's not even necessarily what's being said at that point. Now it's how is it being said. You could take the exact same sentence, oh, get out of here. Okay, that sounded like you just told me a crazy story. I'm like, get out of here, like get out of town. But if I say, hey, get out of here, it's very different. First off, you notice my body language changed, first and foremost. I bet you noticed that. But secondly, just how I said that. I was very serious in the second time I said get out of here. I was very intentional about that. The first time was very playful tone. And so that's very important. We pick that up whenever we're talking about how we feel about something. You hear those things more so than what's actually being said. But okay, so let's think about that for a second. 55% is for body language. 38% is for vocal tone, pitch, and emphasis. That's 93% effective. But what is that final 7%? What is that? What's left? Well, the content of the message. What is actually being said? And that is just a small percentage of what we pick up on when it comes to people expressing how they feel. The words that are actually being spoken. And I feel like that's super impactful because you could be very clear in any situation, in any relationship, you could be very clear about what it is that you're trying to get across to this person. But if your body language and tone doesn't sit right with them, or offends them, or upsets them, or whatever, it could cause an argument, it could cause escalation, it could cause all kinds of different things. And so this is important to understand also for you to not react. Maybe if there's a situation where someone is being very loud and belligerent, but there's some truth in what they're saying, obviously you need to address the fact that they shouldn't talk to you that way or act that way around you, especially if there's any physical violence or abuse. Like, we're not advocating for that. But at the same time, if someone is screaming something at you, maybe though what they're actually saying is good, is truthful, but they're just communicating it kind of in a bad way. So the reason that we like to break this down, if that's only 7% effective, let's imagine a scenario where that is the only form of communication you have, where it's just the content of the message. I need you to like kind of go in your mind to a scenario like that, where there's no body language and there's no vocal tone present. What would that look like? The only thing I can think of is an email, text message, a letter, if people still write those. But that's it. So all you have to work off of there is the words. And raise your hand. Obviously I can't see you, but I'm going to raise my hand. If you've ever read a text message, you took it the wrong way. You thought they were being serious, but they were actually joking. You thought they were joking, but they were actually being serious. And it started a fight, or it started a conflict of some kind. That's the danger. If it's only 7% effective, that means it's 93% ineffective, essentially, is what they're saying. Now, all of that to say, when it comes to communication across the board, I don't care if we're talking about feelings, attitudes, or just, hey, I'm going to the store to pick up, you fill in the blank. When it comes to communication, what is the most effective? And if we look at something like this, where it breaks it down by percentage, what is the only way to get body language, vocal tone, and the content of message all in one every single time? Face-to-face interaction. And so that is what we're trying to get across to you. The most effective way to communicate across the board, across all relationships, is face-to-face. Sometimes that's not always possible, but I guess what we're trying to get at here, especially when it comes to conflict, which we will have some videos about conflict resolution and how we go about that. Conflict, regular communication, communicating how you feel about somebody, good or bad, it needs to be done in person as much as is in your control, right? If you live across the state, maybe FaceTime that person. FaceTime is a great thing. However, you're not getting the full body language there. It's just usually like a bus shot. You know what I mean? Like you don't have everything there. And so when there's pieces missing, all that's doing is inviting more room for misunderstanding, misinterpretation, and, fight or a misunderstanding. And we want to avoid that at all costs. If we want our relationships to be healthy and to thrive, we need to have great communication. I mean, literally, again, I said it at the beginning, it is the foundation of pretty much every relationship that we have, is how we communicate with one another. And oftentimes it's either a good foundation where we respect one another, and then when conflict arises, we can easily resolve it, or it implodes because our communication is horrible, or we don't pick up on certain things because we don't allow that person, I'm petty and I only send a text message when I'm upset because I don't want to deal with it in person, those sorts of things. So be thinking about that from here on out. You've heard it here, the 55-38-7 ratio, or if you just want to hear that face-to-face interaction, versus text messaging or being on the phone, what is the most effective way to communicate? It has to be face-to-face every time. It has to be. And so with that being said, just take that, start applying that to your relationships across the board. I'm telling you, you're going to start to see a difference in how you resolve conflict, how you hear other people, and it's just going to make your life and your relationships all the better because of it. So